A woman was horrified to discover that her daughter's teacher was actually a classmate she had bullied as a child. The moment their eyes met, the female teacher had already secretly placed a pair of scissors behind her daughter's back to provoke her. At the same time, her daughter glanced at her mother. The woman had no choice but to force a smile and say hello. After class, Anna stormed over to confront her and bluntly pointed out that Lisa, the girl she'd once trampled on, had actually become a teacher. But Lisa didn't dwell on the past. Instead, she kept talking about her daughter, wondering if the girl would grow up to use a curling iron to burn people. Anna flew into a rage the moment she heard this. After berating her for a few moments, she turned to leave, but the very next second, Anna received a message in the private group chat reserved exclusively for their bullies. It said that their high school homeroom teacher had suddenly passed away the day before. This made her realize that the other woman's plan for revenge had already begun, and her first target for revenge was that heartless homeroom teacher, because, as a bystander, he had witnessed the entire truth of her bullying. Yet, for the sake of an expensive watch, he had dismissed the bullying as just friendly banter. Just as Lisa submitted her withdrawal application, the teacher began beating her in front of everyone. That day, Lisa took the initiative to pay him a visit. But upon hearing that familiar name, the teacher froze in his tracks. What he never could have imagined was that she had actually known his son for as long as 10 years. It was clear that Lisa had come to seek revenge on him. Lisa then handed him a bouquet of lilies. But the man, allergic to pollen, instinctively covered his mouth and nose. Just as Lisa mentioned that expensive watch, the man suddenly flew into a rage and began hurling the flowers at Lisa over and over again. Lisa's purpose in doing this was to bring up the bullying incident from all those years ago. Seeing the crowd growing larger, the son immediately shoved his father into the house. Lisa then declared she would report the truth to the Department of Education. Upon hearing this, the senior merely clenched the flowers in his hand tightly, as if he had made up his mind about something. That same night, he locked his father inside the house with a roomful of flowers. For the sake of his own future, he would not allow the scandal from over a decade ago to be made public. He then took off the expensive watch his father had given him and watched helplessly as his father collapsed from the allergic reaction. After hearing Lisa's account, Anna, the bully, remained as arrogant as ever. But this only made Lisa feel even more exhilarated, because her revenge had only just begun. On the way back, the crazy woman finally lost it, flipped her cigarette butt to the ground, and roared at the top of her lungs. The very next day, she went to the principal, hoping to have Lisa transferred, but to Anna's surprise, Lisa was actually someone personally recommended by the chairman himself. In fact, as early as half a year ago, Lisa had set her sights on the position of homeroom teacher for Anna's daughter, so she decided to go straight after the school's owner. Every day, she would collect trash from the chairman's home, trying to find clues she could use to blackmail him. Finally, after half a year of gathering evidence, she managed to piece together a will. But the beneficiary of the will wasn't a blood relative, but rather someone with no blood relation to him at all. To gather more useful information, Lisa went to the chairman's house once again. But just then, someone called out to her from behind. It was Jenny, a maid in the chairman's household. Jenny had been keeping an eye on Lisa since last fall. Although Lisa had always skillfully avoided the security cameras, Jenny had still managed to capture evidence on her phone. Lisa had intended to settle the matter with money, but to her surprise, the other party said she wanted neither money nor to call the police. Jenny had a husband who was a compulsive gambler. Every time he lost money, he would abuse her, and he wouldn't even spare their defenseless daughter. Jenny's condition was that she would help Lisa with her tasks, and in return, Lisa would have to help her kill her abusive husband. And so, these two women, both with equally tragic fates, joined forces to make their future operations easier. Lisa had him get his driver's license, and then taught him how to use a camera. Lisa's first assignment for him was to surveil the chairman and find a weak spot. Unexpectedly, right after starting the job, Jenny demonstrated exceptional talent as an undercover agent and successfully discovered that the chairman was gay. That's how Lisa managed to obtain evidence to blackmail the chairman. To keep her own secret from being exposed, the chairman had no choice but to agree to let her become a homeroom teacher at the school. On her first day, he even came in person to introduce her, which led everyone to speculate that their relationship was anything but ordinary. On her first day of class, Lisa established a rule for the children. No matter who their parents were, whether they were rich or powerful, they were not to bully their classmates. As she made this demand, she gave Anna's daughter a particularly meaningful look. Seeing that appealing to the principal was futile, Anna had no choice but to approach her husband, expressing her desire to send their daughter to study abroad. But her husband, believing the child was only 8 years old, flatly refused. With no other options, she sought out Lisa privately and asked her to name a price to disappear from her life completely. But Lisa wasn't having any of it. She had meticulously planned all these years solely for revenge, and was even more eager to see just how long Anna could hold on before she completely fell apart. It was only then that Anna finally felt fear. From then on, She anxiously waited for her daughter to come home from school every day, worrying whether she was being bullied at school or if someone had scalded her with something hot. A month later, the school held an award ceremony for outstanding alumni. The former bullying gang of 5 returned to this familiar gymnasium. Ella had become a renowned painter who frequently held art exhibitions, but behind the scenes, she was a drug addict. David had inherited a golf course and frequently had affairs with Anna. Lucy had fulfilled her dream of becoming a flight attendant because she often met wealthy people on planes. As long as she could hook up with a rich guy, she'd never have to worry for the rest of her life. Mark was still their lackey, now working by David's side. Lisa was also there. When she saw them again, Lisa knew these people hadn't changed a bit, still just as arrogant and domineering as ever. As a weather anchor, Anna rightfully became the school's outstanding alumna. Just as she took the stage to accept her award, Lisa suddenly began clapping.
멋지다, 현진아! 우!
The next day, while teaching an art class to young children, Lisa suddenly discovered that Anna's daughter was colorblind. If it wasn't a disease, it must be hereditary. According to her previous investigation, Anna's husband isn't colorblind. The only one among the 5 bullies who was colorblind was David Kwan. The two had been a couple back in school. Now that they've settled down and started families, they still carry on an affair. Faced with the child's 2 fathers, how will Lisa shake up the situation?